Okay, so let's do our application of what we understood. We know that we have 3 out of 100, 3%, and 3/100ths, that they all mean the same thing. Well, let's see if we can do the same thing that we did to our previous day, where we were able to show mathematically why this happens. So I'm going to take 3%. So 3%. Now, the percent is one of the few things that I cannot do in a mathematical equation. Like with 3/100ths, I could take 3/100ths and I can add 1/100th, and my denominator stay the same because the whole's been cut up into 100. Like yesterday and the day before, the party is still going to be cut up into 100s no matter how many days we have. So the denominator for our circumstance is going to be 100. And so we have today, and then tomorrow I'm going to add one more 100th. So 3/100ths plus 1/100th will become 4/100ths. Okay, so I can add and do a multiplication and division with fractions. I can also do it with decimals. Like if I take 3/100ths, which was what we have today, and tomorrow I'm going to add 1/100ths. I line up my decimal points, and 3 plus 1 is 4, and 0 plus 0 is 0. So it's going to be 4/100ths or 4/100ths. But the percent sign can't do that. You can't take 3% and multiply it by something else in 5th grade right now. Right now, what we want you to do is we want you to understand the concept that 3% means the same thing as fractions and decimal points. So my main thing I want to share today is how do you convert a percent into something that you can manipulate? Like if I said that there's 3% of the class likes dark chocolate, I wouldn't be able to take 3% the way it's written here and find out using the math what the answer is. So I would have to convert this into either a fraction or a decimal. And the way you do it is, I want you to remember, look at this if you ever forget. See the 2 zeros right here in percent? Those 2 zeros mean hundredths or percent or out of 100. It's written right here, just like here and just like the second place value. So what you do is whatever number this is, if there is no decimal point, you always put the decimal point imaginarily at the very end. And now you move it over 2 spaces. 1, 2. And so I know that 3% is the same thing as 3/100ths. Now, if I didn't want to convert it to a decimal because I saw in the situation, mathematical situation that I'm in, that I want to be able to use the math of fractions instead of decimal points, well, what I would do is I would know it's 3% or 3%. And you might want to practice doing that. Take a couple of numbers, any number you want, and start off with a percent and see if you can convert it into a decimal point or a fraction.